listening to Force Majeure, an actual play Star Wars podcast. My name is Adam and I'm your host, and today's episode will be brought to you after this question from our characters.
Okay, so this is a question from Kay, as obvious because I'm speaking, to the doc. This is probably going to be as we travel through hyperspace before we get to where we've just landed. They're in the galley. It's kind of a quiet time. There's no piloting needed or anything like that. They're alone. There's nobody else is around. Doc, can I ask something?
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at our crew as we have it, and I understand Bar. And understanding Bar means I understand Roy.
Okay.
What I don't understand is you, Doc. I mean, I understand you. I know who you are and the like, but we even though Bar is kind of, he doesn't want to be here and stuff like that, he kind of, this is his destiny, kind of. Why are you still with us? We could drop you off somewhere. You could leave this all behind. You've got a life outside this. We really, really don't. Why are you still here?
I mean, you mentioned Destiny just then. That's kind of part of it, because, I mean, like, what were the chances of the three Force sensitive of us being grouped together before we went on the Razor's Heel quest? What was the, how was it the three of us managed to find that temple? And
50-50?
Possibly, but I've been questioning that for a while, and I was, really skeptical about it, and I wanted to, and for a long time I thought, do we need to be the people who goes into this temple? Why were we putting ourselves into danger? And everything I keep seeing along the way makes me think, actually, what if I did believe in the Force? What did I do if I did trust it? And this was part of that. And to some extent, I've started going with along those. Yeah, sure. There's no real reason to be skeptical anymore. There's a plan here somewhere. There's something here.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad you're here. But if ever you need to go back to a life, you let me know. We can drop you off. Don't do it soon, though.
No, I mean, obviously we're on our way back to Saria, which is as far as I'm concerned, that's home. So in that sense, we're going to be in the neighborhood if that was the plan. And I'm kind of curious as to why we're going all the way back. So that's a circle I wasn't anticipating anytime soon.
All right,
but I'll be honest, you guys are really useful to have around. And I think there's a bigger role for you guys, and I want to be part of that.
I've had big roles in the galaxy before. I don't really want to go back to that, but I do want to do what's right. So
I mean, that's hopefully what I'm meaning as well.
Good to have you on board. Better go and check our heading. I'll see you later.
Amongst the many legends and stories of the Jedi Council, there is a persistent rumour that some members who had been offered a seat on the council never took it, not because they were too wise, not because they were too busy, not because they felt they were above such things or didn't feel they could deserve the honour, but simply because no one could find a chair large enough. There are also rumours that Ben-Akai has had many friends amongst the Jedi over many, many years, and yet no one has ever bothered to ask. Welcome to Force Majeure. My name is Ed Fortune. I will be running an absolutely lovely game of Shadows of the Jedi using FFG's Force and Destiny rules. I cannot run a tabletop role-playing game, even one that's being done over the internet, without some friends, because it's really weird and it takes ages to record all the voices. So, without any further ado, I'm going to ask these lovely players. I mean, you've probably heard them before because, you're like this deep into the podcast, but we like reminding you who we are, and also, it does help you navigate stuff. Players, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ross. I play Dr. Smex Karam Denalawa, a Syrian consular healer whose emotional strength is his compassion, but whose weakness is his obstinacy.
Hi, I'm Mikey. I play Dalen Kyrain, who is also known as Kay. He's a human warrior, starfighter race, Arturo Striker. His emotional strength is his compassion, but he's got a fair bit of hatred, and that's his weakness.
Hi, I'm Mim. I play Roy. Roy's a modified B1 battle droid with a career as a hired gun and specializations as bodyguard and heavy, and an obligation to the Bar family.
My name is Adam, and I am playing Tychus Bar, the Basilisk Guardian Armourer, whose emotional strength is his bravery, and whose emotional weakness is recklessness. And given that we're just about to go plunging into the depths of a space whale, I think both of those will likely come into play rather soon.
Where we previously left off, you are in the mouth of or inside a giant space being. For point of reference, less of a space whale, more of a space leviathan. It is vast. Like, you didn't really get it. You got a bit of a scan of it and you found somewhere to park.
Yeah, and its scale is no, that's no moon.
You are parked in the red zone, level 3.
Well, essentially, at some point, someone had built the equivalent of a very large hut, which on its body is like, you know those devices that they put on real world whales to track where they migrate to?
Yeah.
Even though it's the size of a spaceport for yourselves, that's like in kind of proportion. It's essentially just a tiny little box on this huge creature, but it's essentially a small spaceport that you're inside, and it's built into the creature itself. And you have made a friend.
Mm-hmm.
You've made 2 friends. You've made a friend with Ben-Akai, who is the being itself, which appears to be able to speak to you from within itself. And you've also met Wine, who is an architect droid who appears to be powered by nervousness. Yes, I never venture beyond this area because it's not safe at all. It used to be a place. It used to be a cafeteria.
Oh, why is it not safe?
Things got in.
Why was it a cafeteria?
Well, sorry.
Why was it a cafeteria? Who's like, honey, where do you want to go for dinner? Oh, let's grab a cup of tea at the Space Whale. Who was delivering tea and caf to this place?
Aye, was this like a diner? Did like swoop bite gangs used to fly in here, settle down, having some of Mom's creme apple pie? Is this still a jukebox?
Honey, I know it's our anniversary, so I booked us something really special. I booked us a table at Shay's Space Whale.
So, one of the problems with everything else in the galaxy is that though you have...
Is that not coming to your cafeteria? Do they not realise that you require a lot of tourist money to keep going?
I don't understand the word tourist.
No wonder you've gone out of business if you don't understand. It's basic economics. Tell him, Roy.
This is a cruise ship, basically, isn't it?
I am not a cruise ship. No.
Can we focus? And that's not Mikey, that's Kay saying that.
Oh, is this a joke? I miss jokes.
Alright, we'll carry on, guys.
I haven't heard in a long time. A Jedi, a Sith, and a Ben-Akai walk into a room. Oh no, wow. I don't remember.
Is the Ben-Akai the bar they're walking into? Because Antiochus gestures one of his hands at the cafeteria. I mean, precedent's been set.
You little bodies with big souls are very hard to talk to sometimes. And you don't stay still. And if I move and you move at the wrong time, I could hurt you. So it got very awkward with things hanging on my back, having conversations, and then smashing into astronauts. So a friend of mine built this, and he said, add a cafeteria because we'll get thirsty, and we've been at this for 3 months and we still haven't come to a conclusion.
Question! Antiochus raises one of his arms. So before you built the cafeteria, people just used to hang onto your back?
Yes.
Like, in their ships? What I'm trying to get to is what's the fresher situation? No one else wonders, like, okay, just me then. Never mind. Let's carry on.
Well, sometimes the purgle will eat parasites from my body, and if you're not careful, it could be unfortunate. We lost at least one Jedi Master that way.
Well, let's keep an eye out.
This is lovely. I think it's really nice that you have such a close connection, and that you let people come and visit you, and you even provide facilities for it. You know what? That's like really good hosting. So we are gonna go and try and make this better for you, because you seem like a really nice thing.
Yeah.
Holiday resort.
Yeah. We've got a joke, says Kay.
Roy looks at Kay in amazement.
Yeah, there is a pregnant pause.
Yeah, I know, right? How does the droid get round the forest moon of Endor? He walks. And there's a
Tychus leans across to the dock and in his unsubtle whisper goes, "Where's Endor?"
What's a wok?
It's what you pan fry, like.
Kay's like, oh, that's funny, because, we know... Oh.
There's a pause, like there's a substantial pause, and then the ground beneath you starts to shudder, and only ever so slightly, and then there's a and a deep kind of sonorous kind of laugh.
He gets it.
Okay, so if we tell jokes, the Leviathan shakes. Good to know.
That's a funny joke. I do not get it. But it's very funny.
Oh. I think it's not a very big place, and I think you probably only know about it if you're part of the Empire. I probably have said too much. Let's move on.
A Jedi, a Sith, and a Bendu walk into a bar, which is weird because one of them should have force-sensed it.
Hey, Doc, that's kind of funny.
As Roy says that, there is suddenly a light dawns in Tychus' eyes and goes, "Oh, I get it! Aye, no, yeah. That one took me a while, though. That took me a while. But no. What, yeah. I thought it was, again, a Leviathan thing, but no, that's good. Shall we, go and...
purge some parasites?
Aye. Ben-Akai, what's the lighting situation like inside you?
Dark. I can summon some light. One moment.
Those of you who are force sensitive are aware that the force is being used.
Okay.
You don't need a roll to do this, because you're treading in it, if you see what I mean. And it's at this point when he kind of summons the force, you realise that the living force is literally you're surrounded by it. From a mechanical point of view, you may draw upon a single light side pip, providing that you have already got a pip, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, it's a light side Virgins that adds +1 light side point available.
Okay.
Yes. You are currently in a light side Virgins.
Handy.
Yeah.
Very handy. And the place glows gently.
Cool.
Hey, we have a doc that can do that.
Aye, we did. How come you can't glow anymore, Doc?
I haven't tried.
Saving it for a surprise. I get you. And he taps his nose. Not the doctor's nose.
Okay. On. Off.
Yeah, the doc's a clapper. He doesn't know the switch. Shall we go and see what's in the cafeteria and what jumps out at us?
Aye. Tychus pushes a few buttons on his chest plate and little stab lights pop up from his shoulders and start projecting beams of light out. And he also clips a torch onto the bottom of Clementine as well.
Kay just very, very casually unclips the safety leather strap over his weapons, as if you would if you were a gunslinger or such.
Yeah, a high noon.
Yeah.
Whereas when the doc boarded Ben-Akai, he wanted to be at the front because he wanted to be in front of the teammates with the weapons to project a sense of friendliness and welcoming, and because we wanted to make friends with the giant Leviathan. This time he's going to take his traditional position at the back of the party, where so he's not in the line of sight.
And Roy's going to follow Bar carrying a mop and bucket.
That eyepiece, the Gara-style eyepiece, again clips out and locks in place over Tychus' right eye. And those of you who are close to him can see that there's a targeting reticule that moves around in there.
Can I have anyone else may make this roll as well, but it's a difficulty 2. I'm going to say education check. Doc has an additional blue to make this roll.
I'm just going to leave it to the doc.
Yeah, I'm not going to roll.
I have a roll of 2 threat, but 5 success.
So 5 successes is more than enough that you need. The threat here is, I'll explain in a moment, is that you've made a kind of incorrect assumption about some of the way that this place is put together. But having studied the writings from the temple, this entire structure was quite clearly built by an early Jedi sect. Because as you know, the Jedi were not just one, like the modern Jedi, which were then destroyed, were like one thing. But there were lots of kind of like breakaway sects and little kind of like, versions of the Jedi. This, from an architectural point of view, owes more to the temple in Kinabal in terms of kind of build and structure. And you would guess that if it was not Rur, it would have been people who Rur associated with. He probably made this. So this is essentially, this whole thing is built upon Force-sensitive principles. They've not just like turned up and like bolted on a porter cabin,
right,
onto the back. They've been very careful and sensitive to like build something that works with and is incorporated into. This is almost like using your medical knowledge as well at 5 successes. This is almost like a cybernetic implant, in the sense that it probably draws upon bioelectric power, like the creature's own oxygen recycling, and you would dare say that you could probably get inside the body of the whale itself through here.
Right. I mean, I'm taking it this is probably not like immediately obvious from just looking at it, because like the temple would have been made of local materials on Keybell, so it wouldn't have looked exactly the same. But there's a lot of common principles.
The thing that's prompted the roll is, as the door opens into the greater beyond, it does that kind of like strange unfolding thing that you've seen before in the temple.
It's also a big triangular shape, wasn't it, the one in the temple?
The temple was a ziggurat, but this is not a ziggurat because it's literally like a block. But the actual kind of like the shape, the way the corridors are angled, though the way the building is constructed, you're like, I recognise these artistic stylings and this unnecessarily door-opening mechanism. The threat, by the way, is that you're going to have a setback die the first couple of times because you're going to make an assumption about the way the doors open and the way that it's been put together, if you see what I mean. That's wrong. So you've made an incorrect assumption about some of the design principles, but you're right in terms of, yes, this was built by the same people, probably the same people, or at least the same contractors who built the ziggurat, as it were.
This seems a lot like this the temple did.
The temple? The temple we were at before?
Yeah, this looks architecturally very similar. Like the doors are opening the same way. I think there's a link here. There's more to this than just this place is familiar to Force-sensitive types. I think it's the same Force-sensitive types.
I look to the side and just say, ever built anything on a space whale? I'm not really talking to anybody else.
Well, now that you've told everyone else, I feel like I can do Rur, and I can actually just like on microphone rather than doing a hi listeners. We've been doing stuff on Messenger chat because this is a role playing game, and sometimes you just have to send sneaky messages. Yes, so Rur in his. Yeah, so I think I've described him in the past as slightly more gothy Jason Isaacs, with the big white hair and the kind of like full Malfoy kind of mode. And he kind of manifests, only you can see him.
Yeah.
He is got a kind of purplish aura. It's not the pale blue that you get in the Star Wars movies. It's kind of like a purplish. Okay. It's like a bruise in space.
Okay.
Yes. Well, we did help design things like this. This was before my time.
Yeah, before his time, but his people made these. I say to everybody else.
Whose people made these?
Ruh.
One of the reasons we split from the Order is they didn't like innovation.
Isn't that the guy that was living with you?
Living with me?
Yeah?
You mean... no?
The guy who was in your head?
Oh, he's not living with me, though. He's just sitting here. Yeah, his people... He didn't make it directly, but these sort of things happened before his time.
I mean, I don't know much about the Jedi. This would have been a great kind of thing for them to have if they wanted a council among in a galactic council of Jedi. Wouldn't this have been a great kind of place they'd travel around the galaxy in?
Mobile oppression palace, yeah.
Well, palace, certainly palatial, maybe, but not oppression.
I love the
palace.
fact I said mobile oppression palace, and the word you had problems with is palace.
No, the word I had a problem with was oppression. I was trying to say that, but
I suppose it's also the Ben-Akai is a living, thinking being in their own right, and probably doesn't want to be used as a mobile oppression palace at all. I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't mind my friends coming round to hang out every now and then, but I'd rather not use my back to plot a coup, for example.
There is, again, that slight shaking of the chamber of a low chuckle as Ben-Akai goes,
Yes, war is stupid.
War is profitable, but yeah.
Only for some people.
Only for some people, It's terrible for the people being shot, but it's not so bad for the people selling the guns. Anyway.
Yeah, it's at this point the Doc is remembering, hang on, these guys remember the Jedi as organising a coup and not the way I remember being taught it.
I don't remember the Jedi at all, but if this was a mobile oppression palace, or was the intent of, they probably weren't nice people. To be honest, I'd be wary of anybody wanting to build a mobile oppression palace. There's something about that conceptual framework that doesn't really sit well with me.
Yeah, I agree. I think piggybacking on the back of somebody that you don't particularly agree with and just following them round is a dreadful thing to do. And I look at the purple glowing thing and says, you can go for a mo. We don't need you right now.
Roy's going to run ahead.
Just has had enough of this and is Leroy Jenkinsing into the...
No, he's actually really interested. He kind of looks back over his shoulder and goes like,
What? I want to know what a cafeteria on a mobile oppression palace looks like.
The thing about oppressors, slavers, and war profiteers is they're delicious.
and at which point the doors finish opening.
The Doc is muttering to himself at the back of the party, as everybody else rushes in going, who said anything about an oppression palace?
I think you brought it up, Doc. I keep walking.
I'm just thinking, I'm having an evil cup of tea.
Roy is clearly really enjoying this. He's almost treating it like a day out, because now he's like, well, this is a cool place to visit. So he's like, there's a cafeteria. That has made this whole place a lot less threatening to him.
We're going to get eaten.
Nowhere evil would have a cafeteria. It's well known. It's in the charter.
I just want to say, this tray is wet, this tray is wet, this tray is wet. They do.
That this might be an evil cafeteria, and I really want to know, will they have gone all out, like skulls and things, and red and black, or are all the cups just like, have a terrible day? I really want to know all these things.
This is like the best theme park ever. Where's the slides?
So you get through the first set of doors, and how are you all dressed? You're all dressed for normal atmosphere, aren't you?
I am in my full armour, loaded for bear, and my armour is vacuum sealed with its own internal air supply if needs be.
Okay.
Yeah.
As is Kay's flight suit that I built him.
Yeah.
That's also vacuum sealed.
Yeah, wearing my flight suit because we came off the ship and didn't know we could breathe.
Yeah, I'm assuming there was an environment suit that the Doc could be wearing as well. I mean, he's got his armoured lab coat somewhere around, but
tucked into the spacesuit.
Yeah.
Kind of bulking up in odd places, giving you lots of bizarre...
I mean, actually, that's if it's got pockets, that's going to be completely useless. He's probably wearing that on the outside of the flight spacesuit, but
now that's stylish. Luckily, I made out of stretchy material. It's tight on the shoulders, but that's fine.
The door in front of you starts to open, and then spontaneously jams, and there's a kind of as the alarm goes off, and then dies almost immediately because it's not used to being used, and the sheer act of it being used has broken it. There's enough space for most of the party to squeeze through awkwardly. Tychus will really, really struggle, and I don't know about Roy because Roy's extra bulky these days.
Can I force open the door?
You can. How would you like to force open the door? What are you using to break the door?
Me. I suppose I could do the sensible thing and have a look and see. First of all, I'll have a look and see if there is an obvious jam.
So, as you get to the door itself and examine it, they are kind of like these kind of blackish, purplish, you'd call them vines, but these kind of very kind of like organic vines. I'm assuming Roy's just prodding it to see if it does anything.
Yeah, and also shouting up,
Ben-Akai, is this you? Poke, 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 poke.
It's not me, no. needs cleaning, I think.
And there's like, as you poke it, there's like spores. It's very spory.
Does this resemble the archaeofungus from the previous temple?
Oh, nice call. Yes, it does. You may have a bloop. It is indeed a sort of.
Okay, I've got a note on that here somewhere saying, "Don't set that on fire."
Which is brilliant because I was literally about to light up and flamethrower it. So,
Roy, before you set that on fire, that looks like the archaeofungus from the that we had in front of the temple. The nom mushrooms.
Yeah, I know I was there. I can't remember anything about it apart from I made a baby and then he left and then he died.
Okay, well before that we set this entire.
I hit it with a lightsaber
species.
and it exploded.
And then the doc scared it to death.
Yes.
Flamey good, flamey bad.
Well, we're in a trapped enclosure right next to it, so bad.
Yeah.
Hitty good, hitty bad?
Yeah, hit it. Just not with the lightsaber.
I think I'm going to try not to scare it to death this time.
So, well, Roy's at the front. So, do you want to make a brawl roll?
yeah, I guess so.
I think a straight brawl roll will do it. We could make an argument for athletics instead, but I think they're the same.
No,
thing.
because brawl is punching. And if what you're trying to do is force it open with physical strength, it would probably be athletics.
All right,
Yeah.
that's fine by me.
Well, it's also because there's a thing in the way, so you can either be okay.
Just like pulling up a weed. Okie dokie. So I have 2 yellow and a green in this because I've got 2 ranks in athletics. Yeah, we're good. That is 4 success and 1 threat.
So the threat is immediately apparent in the fact that spores get everywhere. However, you're all wearing breathing apparatus, so you don't need to breathe.
I don't breathe.
But you are able to crack open the door, and you're kind of like now pulling, like as you get into the main area, a lot of these are like dried vines, and you can see around you, like you kind of crack open the door, and there's a wrenching sound, which to Tychus's trained mechanic's ears sounds like a cog's just being stripped.
Oh. Yeah, he winces. Now he's got his helmet on, which kind of pops up from the raised shoulder parts of his armour. Tychus looks like a cross between Buzz Lightyear and the Marines from StarCraft.
Okay.
And StarCraft 2. That kind of almost power armor-ish.
Okay, looks like a TIE fighter pilot, but in different colours. Yeah. Okay, Ed, I'm gonna... Once Roy has pushed everything forward, and I walk up and say, Roy, do you mind if I go first?
No, go ahead.
I squeeze past Roy and start making my way through, putting my feet where I think it's safe, trying to keep away from as many vines as we possibly can, and pushing a path through for everybody else to follow.
I'll be using the lights on my shoulders and on Clementine to help Kay find his footing.
Mm-hmm. What's the point in putting ranks into coordination if you don't use it?
Roy is not being delicate with the vines. He kind of sees that we've come here to help and clean up, so he is trying to rip down as many as he can and sort of pile them up so they can be taken away by wine or someone, disposed of.
I'm happy for you to make a coordination roll to negotiate through this other. So you enter a longer corridor, and the lights again flicker on as you enter the room. The lights are there's a glow to this entire area, which is coming from everywhere, which appears to be some sort of like force ability. However, there's actual physical lights, many of which are obscured by vines. These kind of like click on, and as you make me a coordination check, please.
Okey-doke, what difficulty are you going for?
2.
Well, the only problem is rolling dice means that I'm going to get terrible stuff going on. Yeah, that's 1 advantage, no successes, but 2 light side points. So I'm going to use those to give myself a success.
You can also draw from the Vergence itself.
Right. Well, if I get basically, I can add another pip on there, can't I? Yeah. Okay. So we'll turn that into 1 success and 3 advantage.
Okay, you find yourself where there's a kind of like a nexus of vines, and you're quite easy. You can use a lightsaber, or you can just use any other tools. You realize that if you pull, you kind of like are able to roll back.
I'm not using the lightsaber because the doc has told me that these things are very similar to the stuff that exploded. So, yeah, I'm not using that. We'll use grips and hands and stuff like that to...
You essentially, because you're so well balanced, you're able to find the right place to kind of like pull, without collapsing, if you see what I mean. And it feels like the place wants to be healed as well, so it's kind of like helping it. A couple of things happen. You see small amounts of life, little insect life, run as you push stuff away, but now you've kind of cleared a path underfoot by kind of brushing it aside. You also realise that this area has lockers set into the wall itself. They are, for want of a better way, kind of little cabinet areas, little alcove cabinet areas.
Guys, look, signs of life. Shall we crack some open, see what the sort of people that were here were?
Aye.
I'll do just that. See if any are unlocked first.
The first one you come to is locked. There's 8 on total 4 on either side. This corridor goes on for about, like, you can see that there's a crossroads ahead, if you see what I mean, at the lights. And this goes on. I'm terrible at judging distances, as everyone has probably established already. I'm going to say this is like 10-20 meters long kind of a corridor, like a normal kind of building facility kind of corridor. And either side, on four either side, are these alcoves with these kind of, they're quite ornate in the sense that they are cylindrical rather than cubed. They are carved, so there's some sort of stone, but they're clearly like kind of storage containers with a hinge. They've just got like a weird slit at the top, and they look kind of they look ancient. Like you've been in ancient ruins, you've seen kind of pictures of old stuff, you've seen photos of places like Yavin. It's got that kind of like, that old timey temple of somewhere, kind of Temple of Doomy vibe to it.
How do they look like they open? Is it a key, or is that slit a card thing, or?
There seems to be some sort of panel that is manipulated and then that is opened. So you would either push the panel or pull the panel, or possibly, sequence the panel.
Give it a push, see if anything happens.
I'd also like to be, I'm assuming that, while we're clearing a path, the doc is going to have followed Kay into this space. Will have been treading similarly carefully, but I'd like TBC to help be surgically gardening, if you like, picking up stuff and crafting it out of the way. If we get as close to the lockers, then I'd like to see what sort of, xenologically, what kind of hand would have opened it. Is it like a vaguely humanoid hand, or?
Oh, do you want to make it as a knowledge roll before, or is Kay just pushing this open as the dog?
I'm just giving it a go while he's doing the brain thing. It's fine.
This was locked. It has now been unlocked by you applying enough. You haven't had to apply a lot of force. Yeah. If you see what I mean, because it's so old, it's just gone crack, and you're like, oh,
that's disappointing for something that's lasted so long.
And you have to jiggle it a bit.
Yeah.
And you can definitely feel the mechanism fall in as you open it.
I'll probably be doing similar on one of the other ones, using a tiny pry bar to help Jimmy open. Okay.
So as Tychus tries, this is where I roll a die. And yes, again, you easily break the lock, and roughly at the same time, even though Kay started sooner.
Yeah, but he's got a pry bar, so...
And I think I'm a bit more hench than...
He is...
Probably not much more hench, but a bit more hench.
No, you are twice as strong as I am. Yeah.
Twice as strong. And multiple arms and a pry bar. So at the same time, you crack these both open. I'm assuming they all kind of opposite each other. What you see is a full humanoid form.
Yeah.
Helmet, suit, robes.
Yeah.
Small locker box. Tychus sees the same.
Yeah.
A quick cursory kind of glance. These are environment suits. With synth bars, so you can, like, depending on the size of you can make them smaller or larger. They compress. Underneath there is kind of like a little little stone chest as well, which is ornately decorated. If the doc has got his eyes near, he can make a xenology check on the design.
I mean, that and the lockers, because I want to know what kind of beings had used the lockers before. Do you want me to do 2 rolls for that then?
You can make one xenology check to get a general assessment.
Okay.
Difficulty would be 2.
That's 2 success, 3 advantage. I'm doing very well in a minute.
Okay. You're doing very well indeed.
I'm doing GM frustratingly well.
So, these are designed broadly for your sort of height.
Okay.
Galactic humanoids. However, they're slightly oversized, so they are fairly relatively designed to accommodate something of Tychus's race, is slightly larger, but they are flappy panelled enough that if you were a smaller being, you could reach up and also open the lock because of the way the design is. So the design itself has been specifically built to allow different types of beings to open the lock easily.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are some like telltale designs here. This is a Syrian trick. Strangely, your kind definitely would do this sort of thing. It's kind of a design consideration where, because you overthink everything as a race, you're like, but what if a Chedrafan needed to open this door in an emergency, sort of thing. So there's like definitely that kind of built into the design. However, the actual look of the lockers as you get them have the kind of strange tendrily design, and if you want to spend 2 of those advantage, I'll give you loads of it.
I would like to do that, yeah.
Cool. So looking into the actual core design, so this is a design that's been modified. So it has clearly been designed by, you think, a Syrian at some point, but the original design was an ancient race of 3-clawed humanoids who had a real obsession with kind of serpentine design. And they like the kind of like the long kind of traily look to things. This is reflected in the kind of tubular design and the decorations. There's nothing inherently wrong or evil, it's just a cultural thing. This is a race known as the Red Sith that you read about recently in the research that you were doing. But this is the race, not the cult, the race, the Red Sith.
Right, okay.
They would eventually become, like a Lord of the Sith is where that cult comes from.
Right, okay.
But not all Sith Lords are Sith, who are these red-skinned, tendrily humanoids with clawed hands.
I mean, you're sort of telling us that as players, because the characters won't know who Sith are, other than the fact that Ben-Akai has referred to them a number of times.
Yes, he has. And you've also read through some text. You're aware that there's not just the Jedi cult, there were other cults. So what your character knows is that these designs originally came from an alien race known as the Red Sith. They were part of one of the many Force-sensitive cults that existed across the galaxy many, many, many years ago, like lifetimes, millennia ago. And that's the kind of their core origin is here. These are those base designs. However, you get the distinct hand of, for want of a better way of putting it, Syrian health and safety being involved, and someone somewhere going, yes, but what if it was a smaller being? What if a being that had 6 arms? What if I could only open it with my head tendrils? What if someone had fallen? And
I mean, I was about to ask, because you mentioned basilisk physiology a little ago. When you say humanoid, do you mean 2-armed humanoid, or adaptable for 4-armed, etc.?
Adaptable for 4 arms.
Okay.
So, like, the galactic basic form, which on average I believe is 3 arms and 1.5 heads.
Also, you said big suits, so I'm just thinking, are these designed for like idealized humanoids, like Roy's Basilisk baby?
So you'd have to take a closer look at the suits to get an idea, and you've still got the lockers to open.
Yeah. I mean, before we get into that, there's a question I would like to ask Ben-Akai. I'm assuming he's listening to everything we're doing. Ben-Akai, is the fungus we've just been walking through, is this the parasite you were referring to, or are there other kinds of parasites?
Oh, be careful.
That's not a yes.
That is not an answer to the question that was asked.
He doesn't say anything else.
Okay. And while the Serene is overthinking this, because I have this question for a little while now, and this is a question for the GM, not Ben-Akai, but do we remember there being a crystalline structure of a space leviathan back at the temple? Of the various Force-sensitive potential species that might have been associated with this cult, would that have been something we would have seen?
How would it have got in the temple if it was? The temple would have been built on it.
Well, the crystals weren't all life-size, were they? I'm assuming it would have been scaled down in some fashion.
No, but what I more mean is, all of the crystal statues we saw were for species that could have gotten inside that temple.
That's fair, yeah.
To the Ascension Chamber, whereas this thing is sufficiently big that you could have built multiple temples on it.
Yeah.
Casting your mind back to all of that, you generally get the feeling that the point of these effigies was to pull something soul-wise. This thing that you're in is vast. And as you kind of feel the force around you, that technique is not for the likes of this being. This being is far above. And then kind of it clicks in that you do recall that the point, or the thing that Rur was trying to do, was he was trying to become one of this world.
Yes, he was.
He was trying to become one of Ginabal. Why would a creature the size of a moon, why would it want to do that? What would the point be?
But enough of this nerd talk. I want to open these lockers.
You open the lockers. Right, so in K's, there is a plasma cutter, which is ancient.
Yeah.
Several pills that you can't identify that also appear to be ancient. And a very, very antique blaster.
Yeah, they're all going in my bag. And I will not use the very ancient blaster right now because it will probably explode. We're going to sit down and we're going to...
I'll take a look at that later and make sure it's not going to blow your hand off.
Tychus. Frubes. Sorry, is it Frelp?
Frelp tubes, yeah.
Frelp tubes. Frelp tubes. Lots and lots of Frelp tubes. Just Frelp tubes all the time. Plus, like a ID card for the Syrian Academy.
Right, I'll stick them in my pockets as well. These environment suits, I reckon we'll leave them here for the moment because I'm not sure the seals are going to be up to snuff, and we've all got our own for the moment. Might be worth taking one or two just back to the ship when we finished here, because you can never have too many spare environment suits, you know?
Yeah, I mean, maybe open these things and see if there's one specifically for a Syrian, because you're a little squished in that one.
Yeah,
sorry about that. Like, I couldn't do anything about the heat part.
But yeah, we should definitely check these are up to stuff. If the doors to the lockers aren't that secure, then we want to check that anything else has deteriorated over time as well.
Aye, exactly. Let's leave them here for the moment. We've got to come back. We have to come back. We have to come back this way anyway, past them, because it's the only way out of where we are to where our ship is. So let's not laden ourselves down too much right now.
All right.
So are you heading towards the crossroads?
Yes.
Can I have vigilance rolls from the party, please?
I'm guessing this is an initiative check, but does this require a difficulty?
This requires a difficulty. The difficulty is 2.
1 success, 1 threat.
2 successes, 1 threat.
4 failures.
Uh-ohs. Roy's been distracted by merchandise.
1 success, 1 triumph.
Oh,
Nice.
So as you get to the crossroads, the vines split, and 2 of you notice. 1 of you definitely doesn't notice as Roy gets entangled as the vines suddenly move and grabs. And Doc, how would you like to spend that triumph?
I don't know. Vines have suddenly leapt out of nowhere. I want to make sure that the rest of us aren't caught in the same thing.
Essentially, you've been ambushed by, or as the vigilance check was, you've been ambushed by a trap, which is this huge Audrey 2-esque looking thing, lurches out the corridor and immediately gobbles Roy. You can see Roy kind of like doing a puppet maneuver as Roy is gobbled, and I'm going to give essentially the Doc a free kind of heroic action if you want to deal with.
Blow it up with your brain, Doc.
I mean, yeah, the Doc could just say, okay, I have no weapons on my person. I'm just going to light up my head. I don't know.
You basically have a split second. I'm going to say with the triumph, you have a split second to like stop Roy from being dragged away by this trap rather than a thing. What is it that you would like? How would you like to do that?
I don't know. He's quite far ahead of me, and he's got a mop and bucket.
Maybe the triumph is that you notice just in time and shout to Roy, so it only bites it breaks the mop in half and leaves Roy like standing there holding the top half of the bucket and the bottom half of the mop.
I don't know. I quite like the idea that it's grabbed hold of the mop and Roy's not letting go.
I don't know. I'm really enjoying the idea of being swallowed. It's not actually damaging me at the moment, but my legs are probably wiggling and kicking. It's,
And you're made of metal, so its acids are probably there to dissolve organic stuff. You'll be like, it's like a convenience, but it's going to get rid of all the dirt on you. It's going to polish you up to a lovely shine.
I mean, maybe a good triumph would be, because it is clearly distracted by eating me, you can see every weak point and just stab it and destroy it if you want.
I mean, you can use the triumph to give everyone extra 2 blue on initiative checks.
That's the sort of thing I would like to do, yes. Making sure everybody else more alert because I was able to cry out in time sounds like a good thing.
So just for the convenience of Adam's editing, What happens here is, so you get into the crossroads, you all look round, there is a pause. Tychus and Kay imperceptibly move. The doc, I'm assuming, alerts everyone and says something like duck or look out.
Look out, yeah, look out!
At which point Roy, as oblivious as ever, goes, Yark, as the ground literally animates and starts dragging our erstwhile droid companion into the shadows. And on that note, I think we'll leave it there.
Force Majeure is played using the Star Wars Force and Destiny game system by Edge Studios. Our intro music is by the amazing Sly Fox Audio. Check out more of her work at soundcloud.com/SlyFoxAudio. Our outro music is Suburban Outlaw instrumental version by Forget the Whale, used with gratitude under a Creative Commons license. Many of the sound effects and soundscapes are created using Sirenscape, because epic games need epic sounds. If you're enjoying the show and want to support us, there's 3 ways you can do that. The first is by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/ForceMajeurePod, where for as little as $1 a month you get access to outtakes, adverts, various other stuff, and my fortnightly ramblings. You can drop us a coffee at ko-fi.com/ForceMajeurePod, or you can leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to interact with us, there's a few ways you can do that. We are on the social medias, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter as @ForceMajeurePod, and we're over on Mastodon as @ForceMajeurePod at dice.camp. You can also join our Discord, link in the show notes. Thank you very much for listening and being with us as we tell these stories. We hope you are having fun, and we will see you next time.